Coach Adams, I hope you're doing well. Welcome into the game here in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, I'm doing great, Headed home, going to go see my granddaughter this afternoon. So everything's just going great.
And I did. I looked at the bio, and I saw that brand-new grandfather. That has to be happy times there for you.
It's absolutely surreal. My daughter gave birth on Monday, so she's just a couple of days old. She's the prettiest baby I've ever seen.
Wow. Congrats to you from all of us here. And I certainly want to pick your brain and talk about, you've credentials. You've coached a lot of different places in the state of Alabama, but you've got the experience to sort of see. From your perspective, explain what you're hearing about this rule as it entails high school coaches.
All right, the gist of it is that and understand that it only applies to football and only applies to D1 schools. If you get paid in any form or fashion, say you work a camp, say you're a guest speaker at a clinic, or if they hire you for an on-the-field or off-the-field job, that school cannot recruit the high school that you came from for a period of 2 years. So let's say, for example, you just take a look at some of the current coaches that would not be coaching had this rule been applicable over the past few years. Alabama wouldn't have a defensive coordinator. Auburn would not have an offensive coordinator or a head coach. Ole Miss wouldn't have a head coach. SMU wouldn't have a head coach. Bill Clark at UAB wouldn't have a head coach. Now, as far as it would apply to me, being an old guy and not a guy that's going to move up to coach D1 football, I've been working camps at Alabama since Mike Dubose. If you work a high school camp, and I don't know in my situation because I'm a Catholic right now, but I'm going to be at Calera next year back with Andrew Zhao. They could not recruit Montgomery Catholic and possibly Calera for a period of 2 years. So that's. Who are you harming in that? Who are you hurting in that? You're hurting the kids. Not to mention, when you work a camp at Alabama has 500, 600 kids at the older guy camp when you have two camps. And then at the younger guy camp, you have around 1,100 kids. There's no way that Alabama staff can handle an overnight camp by themselves. They have to hire people. Well, who do you hire? If you don't hire high school coaches, who do you hire to work these camps? When I was talking with Coach Cochran at the clinic the other day, he said their initial thought was that they were going to hire NFL coaches. You're not going to get an NFL coach to come in and work a camp and escort 25, 15-year-olds down the street from the practice facility to a Burt cafeteria. That's not going to happen. They're not going to do that. What's going to happen is they're going to have to limit the number of kids that are going. That's going to hurt kids. And it's going to hurt high school coaches.
Yeah, because, I don't know how much you can make in a camp. The finances side certainly is an impact, but just being able to learn secrets of the trade. To be able to watch Nick Saban go through his motions because he's so state-of-the-art, or any other coach in the SEC, I'm sure there's different things that you see that they work on that you could apply to your program.
I stated the other day that I bet 75% of the drills that I do with my defensive linemen I've picked up at camp. Because you think about it, I've worked with Carl Dunbar, I've worked with Bo Davis, I've worked with Paul Randolph that's at Memphis now. You're talking some of the premier defensive line coaches in the nation. And I said I probably got 75% of my drills and from working camps, drills that I learned how to do. Well, I have a master sheet out of about 20 drills. I have 4 or 5 everyday drills that I do. And then depending on who we're playing that week, I've got some other drills I'll work on if we're playing primarily spread zone or if we're playing a power football team. When I got to looking at my list of drills that I do, 99% of them I got from camps. Now, I'm an old guy. That's not going to have that much of an effect on me. But when you talk about young guys, where are they going to get that knowledge? If they're dumb like I am, I got to have hands-on training. I've got to see the drill, work the drill myself for me to get. I can't get that from a clinic. I can't get that from watching the video. I've got to do it myself. And you're talking, and truth be known, it goes both ways because college coaches from time to time can pick up those some drills that you do.
So when we look at it right now, we're talking with Coach Adams, who is a 30-year veteran in the state of Alabama, and we're talking about, from a high school perspective, the NCAA. Coach Adams, I think the indication from most people that we talk to about this and speak in depth about this rule, that it will pass. Is that what you're hearing as well, that the rule will pass?
Yes, from what I understand, Bama Compliance said that it was going to pass. The only person that I've heard, and I heard it from Bama Compliance, Jimbo Fisher said he didn't think it was going to pass, but that is the only person that I've heard say that. You know, and when people hear, okay, there's a NCAA rule and Nick Saban is against it, there's a lot of people out there that dislike Coach Saban. I mean, you understand that.
Right.
And if he wasn't at Alabama, I wouldn't like him. He's at Alabama. I love the man. But Urban Meyer is against this rule. Jimbo Fisher is against this rule. Any coach that runs camps is against this rule. Any coach that's looking in the high school ranks at up and rising stars that's going to go, okay, I'd really like to have that coach on my staff. They have to weigh out, do I want that coach on my staff more than I want to recruit his school? You know, name that comes to mind right off the bat is Josh Niblett at Hoover. Niblett's a great coach. Niblett is doing great things at Hoover, and you know he's got college coaching aspirations. Do you say, okay, I want Josh Niblett so bad that I'm not going to recruit Hoover for that stockpile of athletes they got for 2 years? No school is going to do that.
Well, I mean, it's unfair. It's unfair to the kids.
It's unfair to the kids. It's unfair to the coach.
Sure it is.
I mean, I've been a classroom teacher for 30 years, and you know, it's the path I chose. I'm not good enough to coach on the college level, but if I were, this is the path I chose. These guys, they're not going to have any choice. That's the path that they're going to be given, unless they want to drop out of everything for 2 years and then go back and apply for an analyst job or an on-the-field job at a D1 school. It's simply not fair. The analogy I've been using, the metaphor I've been using, is the NCAA is trying to kill a mosquito with a 20-pound sledgehammer.
Well,
they're hurting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, going back here for just a couple of minutes, I mean, you're absolutely correct. But the NCAA, I've said it millions of times, they're so out of touch with the people that they represent. That they don't, it's a bunch of bureaucrats in Indiana that run these things, and they're out of touch with the people that they represent. It's crazy to look at the NCAA and their operation, the logistics behind this thing.
Well, when Bama Compliance did their little speech at the Saban Clinic this past weekend, the first thing that I asked, and then afterwards the guy that, Matt Self, I think, who was doing it, said that how glad he was I asked him, because I stood up and asked, what recourse do we have? What can we as high school coaches, what can we do about this? Well, from what I understand, the guy that's heading up the committee on this particular rule is the AD at Nebraska, Sean Eichhorst, I think is his name. I've emailed him, I've tweeted him. If I had his cell phone number, I'd text him just to get him to talk to me about it, to make him understand the high school coach's perspective. I mean, this rule is affecting a lot of people. And like I said, ultimately, it's going to affect kids. The little guy at camp at Alabama last year had 1,100 kids at it. 1,100. All right? I asked them, I said, what are y'all going to do about the little kid camp? I said, if high school coaches can't work it, because I know it's kind of far-fetched, but there from time to time, you have 8th graders get offered. You have 9th graders get offered. Well, if you had an 8th grader at that camp as a 10th grader that you want to offer, if I work that camp, you can't offer. And I said, what's going to happen is they're going to have to limit it to a certain number of kids, 300 kids. That means 700, 800 kids don't get to go to camp. That is absolutely not fair. It's not fair to the kids.
All right, let me go to another quick thing here, Coach Adams, just from a perspective, because I often think I wasn't raised with a silver spoon or a gold spoon. I had a plastic spoon. Okay, that's what kind of one that I grew up as, and you know my parents didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't have the ability to play football at a high level. But let me go to this conversation, because I look at how many high school coaches bring their kids to camp. Well, this rule is going to prevent them from doing that. That's idiotic. I mean that doesn't make any sense to me. The high school coaches that would most of the time spend their own money and their own vehicle to get a kid to a camp, and the NCAA is going to block that? It's idiotic.
Well, you're talking 95% of the kids that go to these camps are not prospects, won't be prospects, but they get on the field coaching from some of the best coaches in college football. That's going to go back with them. That's going to transfer into them being better football players. And I hope I'm not in some kind of violation. Last year I worked one day camp at Bama, and Justin Dickens, the director of football operations, said, "Come on, let's go fill your paperwork out so you get paid." I said, "No, I don't. I mean, I'm doing this this is fun to me." I said, this is me giving back to the university that I love so much a little bit. Well, the next one-day camp, I did get paid because I paid for 2 kids to go to camp. These are kids that don't have the means to go to a football camp. I got one of them is going to be a sophomore. I'm sorry, he's a sophomore this year, going to be a junior this year. Next year, he's already got about 5 or 6 offers. You know, I wanted him to be exposed. I wanted the other kid to be exposed, but I especially wanted this kid to be exposed. I took him to camp. I paid for his camp, and that's not going to happen now. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, and Coach Adams, I'll leave you with this. When you invite third-party people, whether it's anything, and people see these dollar signs, and I'm talking about getting away from high school coaches, but somebody in the neighborhood or, you know, some sixth cousin or whatever that gets involved and says they see the dollar sign and they see these guys, it's like an investment, that's where things are going to get crazy, because look at the recruiting problems that we've had with people paying players. That third party always sort of gets them involved, and that can open up, as Nick Saban pointed out, a very dirty side of things. I don't think the NCAA wants to go down that route, but looking at this legislation, I don't know. Maybe they do.
I think Coach Saban referred to them before as pimps, and that's exactly what you're going to be getting. I mean, it's AAU has hurt high school basketball, and you're going to see the same thing happening with high school football. It's going to be the exact same thing. And when you're taking the high school coach out of it, Urban Meyer himself said, "I don't want to talk to these people that run the camps that are not high school coaches." Urban Meyer said, "When I want to know about a kid, I want to hear from the high school coach." And if you're eliminating the high school coach from part of the process, you're going to get less of a high school coach when you get these guys, young guys that, bless their heart, they can't go down and work at these camps and get all this stuff that I've gotten over the years. It's just, I simply cannot understand it. The NCAA does some strange things, but I absolutely cannot understand this at all.